Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back for another conversation with one of our resident experts over at mamaandmoney.com. Today, I am joined by one of my favorite people, literally in life, Danielle Ayodele, and she's going to be talking about how to navigate a career change, how to increase your salary, so many things that I know so many of you have questions about that you just probably have not had access to ask anyone because after all, who wants to go to HR to ask those questions? No one, right? So we're gonna have our career coach, our expert here to talk to us all about it. So welcome, Danielle. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. You're one of my favorite people too. So that's mutual. And nobody wants to go to HR. So I'm glad to be
Right.
here to serve as that voice to give answers because going to HR is not fun.
Not at all. All right. So, guys, as we are having this conversation, I want you to drop your questions in the comments in the chat so that we can get them answered here live. And then, of course, if you are going to be watching this on the replay, you can always drop your questions and we can come back and answer those as well. So, Danielle, first and foremost, tell the people how you got started with career coaching, your professional resume writer. Like, how did you even get in the career space to begin with?
Absolutely. Well, my background is really entrenched in training and development, professional development, and career development. As you mentioned, I'm also a certified professional resume writer. So I've always had a love for all things professional development. But how that turned into career coaching is because I had my own career hurdles and issues and obstacles. And I've been through everything from being laid off twice unexpectedly at the unemployment office, trying to pay my rent with this unemployment check that was not stretching far enough, right? Having to bounce back, look for a new job, going through the motions of being underemployed. So having to sometimes take offers that felt like they weren't quite right, to finally learning how to negotiate my salary and come in much higher through the door. But also being unhappily employed at times as well, burned out, stressed, misaligned to company culture, doing work that didn't interest me, which started to have an effect on my physical health, my mental health. I ended up having to take a leave of absence, went to see a therapist, was trying to get my health together, like just all the things. And then once I started to figure this out, and I figured out how to do it, how to get behind the driver's seat and start navigating my career and taking charge of it instead of just letting things happen to me. I was like, oh, I'm on to something here. And I want other people to know how to do this too. Like, we do not have to continue to suffer in silence. Because you have a job and they're paying you does not mean you need to stay there if the culture is not the right fit, if you're unhappy, you're underpaid, and you're not doing the work that you really want to do. You can make a move. And so I figured out how to do that. And now I'm on a mission to make sure everybody else who wants to do that, that they can do it too.
Listen, y'all better talk to Danielle because you know what my answer was? I left.
I mean, that's a type of career change too. That's a career
Right,
move, right?
and it's not for everybody, right? Everybody doesn't want to exchange dealing with adults with dealing with toddlers all day, right? Not
Right.
everybody wants to do that, or entrepreneurship for that matter. So if a career, and I say that jokingly, but the honest truth is that some people really do want to have a career. I know you're one of those
Yeah.
people where you
Yeah.
really want to excel in the workplace, in the marketplace, and that's just not my thing. But for the people who do want to excel, then this is your opportunity to get those questions answered from someone who's navigated some of the trenches of having a corporate career. You mentioned a few things that I'm sure we've talked about this in the many years that we've known each other, right? So you're
Yep.
talking about being laid off. I got laid off, right? Back in 2017, and I just
Mhm.
remember, like, as much, and it's probably my catalyst for then wanting to really go into entrepreneurship, but I remember I was like one of the top employees, y'all. Top employees, had just won an award that year, and then I got laid off. So I was like, forget this corporate life, I'll build my own thing. But on the other side, I thought it was funny. You said you had to get unemployment. Not a laughing matter, but I seriously used to work at the unemployment office. I don't know if I ever told you that.
You did not tell me that. We've
I
never had this conversation. Y'all, folks, it's
Oh,
like
yes.
spilling secrets that I didn't know. Go ahead. I need to hear more
I was
about
on the
this.
other side of that. So I understand. I understand being on the other side, people coming in. And so
Yeah.
anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about how to navigate career change, for those of you who really want to progress in your career. And last thing that I'm going to share, because Danielle is going to be talking about like increasing your income. And Danielle was responsible for me getting, I want to say it was like an 8%. When I got to six figures, you were the person who coached me on that. And I remember we did that
Yes.
on a podcast. That was a live recording of a podcast, and you coached me through that. And that was like the start of me being able to reach that milestone in my career. And then I left. But anyway, nonetheless,
Well,
how
hold
do
on.
you
So I can I put a pin in that for one moment? I just have to
yeah,
comment on that because I think that also speaks to this other group of people, right? Either you want to be a career woman and that's your focus. Like, I want to drive in my career, I want to progress, I want to climb, I want to advance. Or maybe you do ultimately want to leave and you want to run your own business, but you recognize that getting a little further in your career first is a stepping stone to getting there, because maybe you're trying to increase your income so you can fund your business or fund the ideas, right? So I have also worked with people who come to me and they say, I just want to be a philanthropist. Like, I want to work and I want to do social work. I want to impact the community. I want to start my own business. There are other things that I want to do. But first, I need to go get this job over here that I know is going to pay me more, that I know is going to help me build my relationships in the community and get that experience under my belt. So there's a world in which one of you may fit into that too.
yes. So that I was like, let me run up a bag because I
Yes.
can. Because I can hit these financial goals, everything that I talk about on this channel and on the blog, so that I could be financially free to, not have to have a corporate career and pursue entrepreneurship. But anyway, and by the way, also Danielle is a mom. So if you're thinking like, hey, I'm a mom, I can't necessarily navigate corporate, she's doing it. So which is why part of the reason I wanted to have her here. So let me ask you this. You've gone through several career changes yourself. How do you
Mhm.
know when it's time to change careers? Like, I don't want people to be like stressing out before they're like, oh, it's time. Like, how do you know when it's time to actually change careers?
Okay, so there's 6 things.
Oh,
First
wow.
is, if you are not being professionally challenged, if you recognize I cannot advance any further, there's nothing more for me to learn here. I can do this job with my eyes closed, right? Maybe you've just been there for a while, or maybe you've just hit a ceiling. There's nothing more for you to grow. You can't be stretched in any way, then it might be time to go. The second thing is if it's a poor culture fit. So a lot of people complain about their leadership is poor, or, oh, my boss is a micromanager and I can't stand this. And it might be a culture issue. So sometimes if you're also feeling burned out and overwhelmed, if you're missing some of that work-life balance, you might need to make a move to be with an organization that supports employee well-being and supports you being able to bring your full self to the workplace. So culture fit. Third thing is you need more money. I remember many years ago in my very first consulting position, I had just finished my MBA. I was feeling myself. I was like, oh my goodness, I got this MBA under my belt. I'm bringing all this new knowledge and applying it to my job. I'm like helping them land new clients. And I had a conversation with my boss and asked for a raise, essentially, because I had this new degree and this new knowledge that I was applying. And she said to me, Danielle, you'll get your next raise when you get your next job. And that let me know, okay, there's no more money to be made here. And what she's essentially telling me is that you got to go. Like, you got to go outside of here and find something else in order to bump up your pay. So that's another way, or another reason it's time to change. If you can't make any more money than you're currently making where you are. The fourth thing is you're doing something that is not aligned to your dreams, your passions, your interests. Like, your mind is elsewhere. You're at work, you're on the phone, you're talking to these people, you're sitting in these Zoom meetings, you're typing up these reports, but your mind is somewhere else. There's something else that you have been thinking about that's tugging at your heart, that you're like, I wish I was doing that instead. Then it might be time for a change. The fifth thing is relocation. You just got to move. Like, maybe
Mhm.
you love your job, but now you have to move. I was in that position when me and my husband got married. I left Alabama and came to Chicago. So I needed a new job, essentially. I couldn't pick up that job and move. Now, we are in a world where a lot of roles are hybrid and fully remote, but sometimes relocation is the need. And then the sixth thing, which is very important, sometimes God just says go. And that's when it's time for a change, because Something is telling you that it is just time to make a move, and God
Mm.
speaks to you loud and clear. And one of my career changes that I've made was absolutely because the Lord finally said, okay, you got my permission. It's time to go.
Listen, and you better move
And you
or
better
get
move
moved or be moved.
or be moved. Listen.
Oh man. So those are some very good, I guess, ways to judge whether or not it's time to leave your career. Because I think a lot of people will sit in careers that they are unhappy with, that they're being underpaid in, and
Yeah.
all those things, and just think that that has to be it. But actually, no, you can do something about it. You can be proactive and make that career change. Although it might be scary, right? Especially for
Right.
people who've been working in their careers maybe a decade with a company or what have you. So it may be scary, but that may be the thing that you need to do. So, speaking of which, speaking of being in a career for a long period of time, is it ever too late to change careers? Like, how old is too old to change careers?
Making a career change is for the young and experienced. We'll say
There
that,
we go.
right? So, so whether you have 20 years, 30 years of experience under your belt, 18 years of experience. In fact, one of my clients, she had been working at the same job at the federal government for 13 years. 13 years. She was like well embedded into this department at the federal government, and knew though she was doing her work and her mind was somewhere else every single day. Doing her work, mind somewhere else. And she was like, I've been here so long though. It's never too late. It's never too late. My very first career change that I made was actually early in my career. So whether you're on the early side and you're starting to realize, I think this is a mistake. I went into broadcast journalism. I was working at ABC 7 News, and I started to realize I don't want to do news. So I had to start thinking of how else I can use my skills. And that was just 2 years out of college. So whether you're early on or whether you've
Mm.
been somewhere much longer than you plan and you look up and it's 15 years later, 18 years later, you can still make that change. In fact, think about retirees. People retire and they go start
Right,
brand new
whole new
careers after
careers.
that.
Yeah. Second careers.
So
I had an aunt who did that. She started a whole second career after she
yes,
retired.
so it
So
doesn't
it's
matter.
never.
Never too late.
Gotcha, gotcha. So you made an interesting point. So you started off in journalism, broadcast journalism, and you
Yes.
changed, switch over to consulting, right? So
Yep.
what was that first step in changing? Because I'm sure a lot of people maybe that I mean that's obviously a completely different industry, right? Some of the skills may be applicable, right? Communication skills, like all those things are applicable. But how did you make? What was the first step you made in switching such making such a drastic change in your career?
So, first of all, I wish I could say that I knew what I was doing back then and that it was this like strategic plan and I just had it all figured out. I was so young and just green and naive, and I only knew journalism. I only knew television. So the answer is it was the transferable skills that got me out of journalism and into consulting. How it happened though is a funnier story because I was headhunted. I was called by as someone who owned a boutique consulting firm, a consulting company, and they said, we want someone with strong communication skills. So, hello, transferable skills. Didn't realize that's what she was saying at the time, right? And she said, I've got this consulting opportunity. You'd be a great fit for it. And I pretty much told her, no, I won't. I shot my own self in the foot by saying, but I only know TV. I've only done broadcasting. I've only, helped out producing newscasts and being in production in the studio and editing and, telling stories. I don't know anything. And she said, you have the skill set, communications. And we parted ways. And then not long after that, she doubled back and then made me an offer that I
Wow.
couldn't refuse. And then sure enough, when I got on the job and I got into consulting, I realized I can do this. And my skills were so transferable. It was such a natural fit, the way my communication skills just kind of rose up and really helped me shine in that role. So it's a transferable skills thing. That's the very first thing, is looking at what do I have an interest in? What do I really want to do? And what are the skills that I have now that can actually be applied to that?
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, so let me ask you this. So you had someone who recognized that, hey, these are the skills that are necessary. So for someone who doesn't have that person saying, hey, you got these skills that are transferable, what should they be looking at? Like what, I guess, I don't know, what is the thought process to that they should have to figure out what their move can be?
So you pretty much want to do a self inventory first of all. You want to understand what are the skill sets that you have. So
Hmm.
you're not even applying them to what you think you want to do yet. It's just taking a look at your background, your experience, where you've been so far. What are the type of experiences that you've had? What type of work have you done? What have you been praised for? Where have you been recognized, awarded? What accomplishments are you really proud of? And what skills have you used the most? Even ask yourself, which ones have you enjoyed using? And what skills are the ones that you honestly would rather not use or rather not tap into, even if it's something you're good at? It just doesn't bring you joy or fulfillment to do those things. So you're
Hmm.
really starting with that and just kind of doing a self inventory of what you have going on. Then beyond that, you are thinking about the work that you want to do and then pulling up job descriptions and using them as your cheat sheet. I don't think people realize how much of a cheat sheet a job description can be. They are literally telling you what they want. And after that, you're just doing a comparison. You're taking a look at what the job says that they need and want. And then you're going to look at this wonderful inventory that you've already done on yourself and figure out where the match is.
So in that case, right? So you went into a role, and most people who are making the career change are going into positions where they have no experience, no background, right? Maybe even no
Mhm.
background in that industry. So how do they make that change? But I guess more importantly, or more specifically, how can they articulate to that hiring person, like, hey, yeah, I know I don't have the experience here, but I'll make a good fit for this role?
So it does come back to speaking about your skills and showing how it can be used in the position that you're applying for. So one, you're going to show how you have already used them previously to support your employer in reaching their goals. Then you're going to speak to using the job description as your cheat sheet. You're going to speak to how those skills can accomplish the things that they're looking to fulfill in that actual position. Now, I will say having a coach, working with someone who can help you articulate that and figure it out just accelerates your ability and your progress in that. It's a little bit harder to do on your own if you're not used to that kind of language, but it's possible, right? Like I kind of stumbled my way through it until I finally got it. But at some point in my career, I also did reach out and invest with and work with a coach who helped me, and the light bulb started going off. But it can be done otherwise.
All right, cool. Now, one of the things I think people would obviously ask is around salary. So I think a
That's
lot
the
of
fun
people think
stuff.
I, right, I'm going into this new career, right? I don't have experience. I have to take the bottom of the pot. How do we negotiate salaries or a fair salary when you don't have experience in that particular career field that you're switching to?
Here's the beautiful thing about earnings and when it comes to salary and base pay. Your base pay for a position should really have nothing at all to do with what you were doing previously.
Mm,
So, what I was making at ABC 7 News, I don't think I've ever said this on any kind of live recording before. As a college graduate with a degree and being with having 2 years of experience, I was working managing the news desk and making $9 an hour. Okay.
what? Probably working ridiculous hours too.
Oh, yes, I was on night shift. So I was doing like the 10 p.m. newscast. I got off at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Hate
So
it.
yes, I was making $9 an hour. Now, the way most of us mistakenly think about salary is, well, my next job, maybe I'll make $10, or if I'm lucky, 12 or $14 an hour. But what happened was when I made that transition, I was paid for the position that I was stepping into. It had nothing to do with my previous salary. So I went into that position making, now this was a long time ago, y'all. I know it may not sound impressive now, but I went from $9 an hour to a $35,000 a year position, right? That made it a no-brainer for me not to turn it down. But it was because that's what the market was demanding and that's what the position paid. So you are looking at not what have I made previously, but what is the market paying for this role? What are the expectations and responsibilities of that? What is my education that I'm bringing to the table, the experience that I'm bringing to the table? What am I worth? Because your previous pay doesn't necessarily dictate that. And that is how you negotiate the right salary or making sure that you're getting paid fairly.
So I want to have a like pause at this part of this conversation, because the fact that you said your worth. One thing, recently I watched an interview with Tabitha Brown, and she was saying that you'll never get paid your worth. It's only what you will accept, right? So it doesn't matter,
Well, Auntie
right? Auntie Tab,
Tab.
come on now. Right? It's not necessarily like a job will never pay you this. And I mentioned this when I talk about business, right? When it comes to being an entrepreneur and when it comes to pricing, a lot of times we have that same mindset, right? We want to get just paid what we made in our careers when we're transitioning over. And the one thing I always keep in mind is like your job is never paying you what you're truly
Yeah.
valued at in the market. Never. So never take that as this is the cap that I should be at, or this is what I should be making, because they're never paying you what you're truly valued at in the market. And I think that's evident in on the comment that your prior manager said. And I had a manager tell me this too. It's like, if you want to get paid more, go somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
because that tells you right there that they value the skills that you gain and acquire on that job is well worth more than what they're currently paying you in that role. So I just
Absolutely.
wanted to bring that attention to everyone who's thinking about what should I ask for, or how much should I be getting paid, all those things. Know that, one, you're never going to get paid what you're worth, and they're not paying you what you are valued at, and I do that in air quotes, but what you're valued at in the market. So never limit yourself to that. I just wanted to say that. And also,
Yes.
sidebar, we definitely, well, I'm not in the corporate space anymore, but there definitely needs to be more conversations around salary, especially when it comes to women, and especially when it comes to women of color. I'm just gonna leave that there.
I'm gonna pick it up. Thank you very much. Because you don't just, we need to talk about it. There needs to be transparency, there needs to be more sharing, and there needs to be more boldness and courage. We are called to be bold and courageous when it comes to advocating for ourselves, forgetting about what has happened in the past. Your next move, this is the time to now be bold and courageous. Even if your heart is thumping in your throat and you're scared and you're terrified and you're like, I can't believe I'm about to ask for this, ask for it. Because if you don't, then you will never know what you were capable of actually getting and earning. Because like you said, Fo, you'll never get what you're truly valued, but you're always going to take that into consideration with what you bring to the employer. So like you said, do not limit yourself.
Yeah, I remember I asked this was before Danielle, maybe before I even met you. I'm not sure. Definitely before we had the conversation about salary negotiations. I remember asking for a raise, or no, I got a new job within the same company. I got a new job. They gave me the salary, and I countered back. I'm like, actually, this is what people in this kind of role are making. And it was interesting because she came back, the HR person came back, and she was like, "You're at the top of your group right now. Like, we can't. There's And you know what my response was? Y'all know I won't say anything, but you know my personality.
We know you
I
are
may
a
have said this
direct
back.
communicator.
I was like, I don't care what they're making. Like what they're making has nothing to do with me. I'm asking you because I recognize the role and position that I'm in, the skills that I have, the level of education. I don't they're what I don't pay their bills. Like anyway, sidebar. Y'all know
Yes.
me.
Hold on. I want to speak on that real quick because I want to drop some corporate language and terminology on our folks who are watching today. Ladies, this is what they call internal equity, right? So when a recruiter or someone in HR is trying to explain to you what other people are making and how they're taking into consideration what they're going to pay you, it's their attempt and effort to balance internal equity, right? Because here's the thing, we know not everybody is asking for market value or asking for what they're worth when they come in the door. They're just accepting the first offer. So that means that they could have people in that very same position who are making a lot less, and then ultimately maybe it looks unfair for someone else to then come in and be significantly making significantly more, and they're brand new, they're the new kid on the block, and so and so's been here for 3 years and they're like $20,000 making $20,000 less. But like folks said, we don't care. We don't care what they're
Then
making, right? Like, it has nothing to do with me. I'm thinking about my lifestyle needs, my professional background, the value that I'm bringing to the table, and this is my ask.
yeah. So I thought that was interesting because I was like, I don't really.
I
Their
don't
bills ain't got nothing to
don't
do with
say it
my
like
bills.
fo though. Don't say it like fo, y'all. Don't say
Yeah,
it like
y'all definitely be more polished. I'm pretty sure I had some professionalism to it. Now at this point, I've
right.
apparently burned my bridge with corporate, but nonetheless, I think it was worth it. I'm pretty sure I came back to my. Was I married at the time? I probably was married. I was like, look, they ain't got nothing to do with me. Yo, their bills ain't got nothing to do with mine. So
Right.
anyway, nonetheless, ask for what you definitely believe you are valued at and worth, and you are willing to accept, brother, what you're willing to accept for that position. All right, so let's talk about it. People now, they're like, hey, I've recognized the skills that I have that are transferable. I've recognized the career change that I want to make. I'm able to articulate, are somewhat able to articulate how those things are transferable and applicable. I know that I have the ability to ask for what my skills are able to contribute to the role. Now, what should they be doing from a like updating their resume standpoint to actually make to go out and really start pursuing that career change?
Yeah, I'm glad. I appreciate the way that you framed that up, because sometimes we make the mistake of jumping straight to the resume, but really we do want to do all of that other stuff first. We want to do the self inventory, understand what our skill set is, really think about what we want, what we're going after, how much money we feel like we need to make in the next position, what is the market like, understand the lay of the land. And then once you have that information, now you can update your professional brand and really make sure that you are presenting yourself for what you're going after. And that does include the resume update. Now, when it comes to the resume update, you need a clean and easy to read format. The top section of the resume is prime real estate. So you need all of the most heavy hitting facts about you that are relevant to the position and why you're a good fit for it right there at the top. So, for example, if you're making a career change, but your degree is still relevant for the field and industry or the job that you're transitioning to, it shouldn't be tucked away at the very bottom of the second page. It should be front and center if it's quite relevant. If there are major accomplishments or achievements that you have that are relevant for the position, those should be at the top. You should be using numbers that and statistics in your descriptions that really jump out to the recruiter to show the value that you brought to previous employers, and make sure that your skill set aligns directly to the job. It needs to show those transferable skills and have it all front and center right there at the top of the page. I always tell people, imagine if your job history were to completely fall off of your resume and all the recruiter has is your name, your contact information, your header, your professional summary, and then that box of skills. Does it tell them if you're a good fit for the job? That is where you really want to focus your time and your energy on your resume.
Now, would you say that the changes that they're making on their resume, they should also mirror that and maybe let their LinkedIn profile, even though they're still currently employed with their employer, like should they start, you know, making
Mhm.
those changes as well?
Absolutely. You want to make sure across the board you are updating your professional brand. So wherever you have a professional presence online, if it's LinkedIn, if you have your own About Me page, make sure that you clean all of that up. Your LinkedIn should have a nice professional headshot. Get rid of the photo from your cousin's wedding. Okay. I know you were dressed up. I know you were dressed up. You look very beautiful.
That is hilarious.
But please, JC Penney, $30, $40. Go get a professional headshot, and get that page updated. And there's so many really nice and free resources and tools online these days that can help you with just where to focus your time on updating your LinkedIn page. But you can, if you get your resume done, you can pretty much just grab a lot of that stuff and put it on your LinkedIn as well.
That's hilarious, y'all. Because I've seen it. I've seen it. Let me get the cropped image of me
Right.
right there.
Right.
Girl, I've seen it. I've seen it. All right, y'all. So this has been wonderful, per usual, right? So we've covered a lot of ground, y'all, talking about career change, resumes, salaries, the whole gambit when it comes to navigating career change and your career, what you want to do in the corporate space. So Danielle, obviously you don't just talk about this here. You have your own platform where you provide tips and strategies and other information that can help people who want to make that career change. So tell the people how they can connect with you if they have questions. Y'all, if y'all haven't dropped questions, drop them in the comments so that we can see them. But otherwise, how can they connect with you so in case they have questions around navigating a career change?
You can connect with me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is at excel with Danielle not.com at excel with Danielle. Thank you so much. Fo has thrown it up. So please connect with me there. I am sharing tips and strategies all the time. Again, I'm a certified professional resume writer, so I do talk about that. I know that is a hot topic that a lot of people are interested in. I also talk about interview prep, salary negotiation, and my focus is to really help you, mid-level women, make that career shift. If you're looking for a new job, if you're looking for a change, if you recognize that it is time for you to make a move, because you need more work-life balance. The culture you're in right now is toxic, or it's just not a great fit, or your family needs have changed and it's time to make more money. You're looking for advancement. That is my goal, is to hold your hand and support you through that, and successfully help you make the job change. So connect
That's
with me on Instagram.
Connect with her there. And I do have a question. I know some people may be wondering this. Like, we see the news. Well, I don't watch the news, guys. But we see the news, right? And they're like, layoffs here, layoffs there, and the recession, and we don't know if we're in a recession. And like, so can you speak to the job market now from your perspective as someone who's in this like day to day? Can you speak to the job market for those who may be concerned? Well, maybe now is not the best time for career change.
Yes, I actually think right now is one of the best times to be looking for a job. And that is because even though we do know a lot of organizations have been doing layoffs, so let's acknowledge that organizations have been doing layoffs. We do hear a lot of talk about unemployment numbers, but you guys, companies are hiring. In fact, I just heard on National Public Radio the other day a report that talks about how companies are hiring rapidly right now. And women are actually being hired at a higher rate than men. So this is a great time to get your resume cleaned up, to do that inventory of skills, really think about where you want to go next, and start positioning yourself to have conversations with recruiters. Now, it can take 3 to 6 months to do that. So that's why you want to get started now, because the job market is hot. There are a ton of job openings and people are hiring. They really are.
Y'all, now I'm not looking for a job, but I've heard that to be true. I've heard that from several people who,
Yeah.
my husband, obviously, he still works in corporate, so I know for a fact that people are looking for employees, and people are getting hired. I know this for a fact. So if you were thinking about a career change, and you just haven't taken the next step, I would definitely heed Danielle's advice. Get started now, y'all. Quit putting off tomorrow what you can do today. Okay. So get started,
Yes.
at least get connect with her to understand, okay, what's my first step? How do I update my like all those basic things to just get started. You definitely want to connect with her there so you can make that move. So it's not another year from now you're coming back to watch this video to figure out how do I execute that change. You can get started now knowing that, hey, it may take a few months, but it can happen, right? So
Yep.
all right, Danielle, I appreciate you as always.
Thank
It looks like we don't have
you.
any comments. At
Okay.
least I can't see them here. But y'all, if you have any questions, be sure to drop them below the video, and then also be sure to connect with Danielle over on Instagram. Like she says, she does provide tips around resume, around job search, about career change. So if you are looking for some support with career change, you need some advice on navigating that, and resume and salary negotiation. I told y'all she helped me live on a podcast recording prepare for a salary negotiation, and I got that money. So
Yes.
so I'm just gonna
Congratulations.
say you might you might want to follow her for some tips and advice. All right, any parting words for the people, Danielle, before we hop off?
The time is now. The time is now. Just stop waiting. It's been on your heart. It's been in your mind. It is possible. You can do this. You can do this. And the time is now to just get started getting things in order and go after the job you really, really want and deserve.
All right. All right, guys. Thank y'all so much for joining. I know it's some of you guys' lunch hour. Yes, the replay will remain on the YouTube channel. And while you're here, why don't you check out some of other videos? We post new videos every single week to help you make and manage money to become financially free. And until next time, guys, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.